In this project, we will implement a company payroll. This project is a bit different than all of the other projects. In this one, we don't intend at all to provide full implementation. We are going to focus on a high level design. So you can think of it as a more stressing on design skills and a trial to get some different concepts in the OOP together in a single project. There will be no menu of options here. There will be no digging in the details. Also, another goal is to deal with requirements that might seem vague. In practice, when customers give us requirements, there are typically a lot of like unclear things. The typical way is to talk more with the customer to get more information with it. You don't do a lot of assumption with that. In this project, you also will meet requirements that might seem for a while not that clear enough. You might need to Google a little bit maybe, or maybe you need to make your own assumptions, but in practice, we do not make assumptions. To make it easy to develop it, I divided the project into 4 parts. After each part, compare your solution with my solution and build your next solution based on my solution, my provided one. In the first part of the company, we are going to build the employees section. We need to represent the employees, and they are either volunteers or the working people are either volunteers or employees. The minimal common between all of them is they have name and they have address. And also anyone who is working here has is paid money in a way or another. Each employee, which is Z type now, is paid in a specific day, and that day varies from a person to another. Employees could be either hourly based or salary based. As its name is saying, hourly based, someone who, let's say, worked this week for 20 hours, he is paid like maybe $5 per hour and so on. The salary based is someone who has a fixed salary per month. There is also one type that is a commission salaried employee. This guy also has a fixed salary per month, but he also gets some extra money for the sales that he is going to do. So according to the ratio of the sales and according to the sales, there is some ratio of it that decide how much money he will gain for this monthly sales that he has done so far. Please try to develop the classes that represent whatever you guess is a class from here. Try to figure out the features. Most of them are clear. Also add a property amount to pay that should return the paid money for that guy per month. In part 2, we are going to add the invoice to the system and a payroll for the system. An invoice is typically consisting of set of items. When you go to Amazon and you try to buy a bunch of different things, like let's say a couple of books, one laptop and so on, you have an invoice eventually. So the invoice eventually has items, the quantity, the price per a single item. Each item has a description, total quantity, and the price per item. Each item also has its own details. For example, if it is a book, then it might have a book author name. The total invoice price is the sum of the items inside it. So we see how much we pay for the used books, the laptops, and so on. The sum of all of that represents the invoice price. We would like also to introduce a payroll. The payroll here consists of a payable for the payables. The word payable is coming from the accounting, and it means something that we pay for it. It seems in this system we pay money for the employees and we pay the money for the invoice. Remember, I once said that about this properties. Sometimes we have a class that represents a property, a payable something like you think that this class is printable, this class is payable. It is different relationship from saying student is a person. It's a bit different here. You just mean that this is something that probably allowing us to be paid in a way or another. For example, anyway, the total amount money for the payroll is the money paid for anything that is payable, such as the employees and the invoices. Create a class for a company and create several types of payables and add it to its payroll and compute the total paid money for the payable items. In part 3, we would like to add validations. Sometimes the invoices might have rules that we apply over it. I would like to give you some examples, but we don't need to take care about the logic of that for the moment. For example, maybe one of the invoices doesn't utilize some advantages in the given country for taxes. The taxes in California, is it like in Seattle? the taxes in Canada isn't like in Egypt, and so on. So maybe we can apply some rules to verify something about an invoice before paying it. Maybe we can make use of some of the taxes issues. Maybe our invoice is now out of date relative to some agreements with suppliers, and so on. We don't need to take care to deep in the logic here, but just I would like to give you some background. I would like you to create several validation rules. They will be dummy in terms of implementation, but your system should have several validation rules. And there is what I call a validator group. A validator group consists of a specific subset of the validation rules. Let's say you have implemented 15 different validation rules. Maybe the mandatory validator group has only 3 out of them. Maybe the complete validator group has all of the 15 validation rules, and so on. In short, the validator just makes sure all of its rules are valid. So you iterate over all of your rules and ask the rule, is it valid or not? Finally, before we pay an invoice, we need to make sure it passes all the validation rules in the assigned validator group. Find your way to represent that in the system. Part 4, the final part, we would like to print the payroll items, which are mainly the payables from the invoices or the employees. However, we would like to order them first. The sorting criteria is as following. Notice now the payables are of different types of employees and also an invoice type. If an object type isn't the same, for example, one object is invoice and another is hourly employee, or maybe salaried employee versus commissioned salary employee, compare based on the class name. Okay, so now every group of similar type is going to be grouped together, and the overall order of the data types is based on what? Is based on the class name. Okay, this is a very artificial ordering, I know, but follow it for now for simplicity. So the overall order of what is going to appear first, is it hourly employee, is it salary employees, is it invoice, will be based on the string name of the class itself. Now within each type, we would like to sort according to the following. If it is a working person, then we just sort based on the name, then salary in an increasing way. If it is an invoice, we would like to compare based on the invoice ID, so assign for every invoice an ID, and then based on the number of items in an invoice in an increasing way. To print the items, each employee should only be printed as a class name, employee address, and for the invoice it should print the class name, the ID, and the number of items. This is the last step in printing and ordering the payables. You have to order them first before printing them. That's all. If you would like to go beyond the high-level design, you are highly recommended to do that. Go ahead and try to fill more and more implementation. But as I said, I wanted to make it easier for you so that we focus our attention to the design part. That's all.